had my Evolution Fury 3 mitre saw for a couple of years and I have been pretty happy with it. I've only ever used it pretty much as it was out the box, not adjusted it or anything, and it's always given me reasonably good cuts. That said, I've never really been looking for anything particularly accurate. I've now decided that I wanted to try and improve the accuracy of it and make those 90-degree cuts a bit more 90 degrees. And here are my observations. I've adjusted the fence and I can now get a perfect 90-degree cut if I support the material on the left hand side. If I support the material on the right hand side, I don't get a perfect 90-degree cut. The other thing I've noticed is that this bed isn't at all level. Let me just demonstrate that. I'll take my speed square and lay it on this surface here and slide it along. It's hitting this bed here and it has to go up quite a bit. If I do it from this side, then these two pieces seem, no, there's a gap. There's a gap here and there's a gap here, so it's high here and it's high here. If I try to move across here, it wobbles. I just can't get, that's, if I get it flat on this surface, quite a bit of movement. Now, not content with that, if I say take this and make it 0, I don't know if you may not be able to read that, that says 0 degrees. If I put it here, this is 0.6 degrees. If I put it here, it says 0.9 degrees. If I put it there, it says 0.3 degrees. So they're not flat. I've had this level and I've been putting this on the blade here and it's exactly 90 degrees. So I should get a nice straight cut. When I test it with my square, it's not anywhere near 90 degrees. And that's probably because the wood's also sitting on this piece. So I can't use that. So I've got to find another way of doing it. This whole thing needs flattening. So just some thoughts on the shortcomings of the Evolution Fury 3. It is quite a cheap mitre saw. You get a lot for your money really. I'm not disappointed with it. I've had it quite a while and it has done a good job for me. But it's not a precise piece of equipment. I've built this temporary sanding board. I've checked it's flat using my speed square. I'm now going to cover it using double-sided tape and 120 grip sandpaper. Pushing it down to make sure it's made good contact with the double-sided tape. Now I'm ready to sand. Little did I know at this point just how much sanding would be required. You can also see here me removing the fence so that I can access all of the bed. I've been sanding for a couple of hours. I've drawn some lines onto the surface so that you can see where the high spots are. There are still quite a lot of high spots, so I'll sand just quickly with this and hopefully the high spots will show themselves quite quickly. Okay, so you can see here there's a high spot, here there's a high spot, this is a little bit high, and obviously over here there's a high spot. If I look carefully, this bit here hasn't had any sanding at all on it. It's still got the original surface that it started with. This bit here does as well, and all round here it's all the original machined surface. So there's still quite a lot to do, but I'm getting there. And I sanded and sanded and sanded and sanded and sanded and sanded, and then I sanded a bit more. Okay, so I've been sanding and it's certainly given me a workout. Obviously as I sand the high spots I get more and more high spots, but the low spots get smaller, which means just to take this little tiny bit out here I have to effectively lower all of the bits I've already sanded, so it's starting to take longer and longer and longer to get the result I want, but I will get there. Another couple of hours and hopefully it'll be done. I've been sanding for about 6 hours now, over 3 days, and I'm happy now with the finish I've got. It's very level in terms of all these pieces are flat to each other, and if I use my angle gauge, that's saying 0 at the moment, 0, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So it's almost perfect. I mean, it's as good as I'm going to be able to get it just with a sanding block. I'm now going to just finish the surface and then I'll start on the fence. When I put my straight edge against the fence, what I noticed is it's high at both ends and it dips in the middle, which is why this straight edge wobbles in the centre there like that. So I'm going to rub this down and flatten it off so that it's true. And that's my next job. Hopefully it won't take as long as the bed did. Hopefully it'll only be an hour. Well, that didn't take as long as I expected. If I now test it with my speed square, it's perfectly flat, and you're not going to be able to see this, but there's no gap at all. It's exactly as I want it. That only took me about 20 minutes, so I'm quite pleased with that. So I've done a test cut, so I lined up the fence to this edge here and then did a test cut, and it seemed to be perfect. Now look here, don't know if you'll see it, but your fingers can feel more than you can see normally, and there is no discrepancy at all along that line, and it's the same if I do the same on the back. It's perfect. Just give you an idea. You should be able to see that. That's just moving it in a little bit so that you can judge by the length of the lines, and it's perfect. So I'm really pleased with that. I've now got to do the angle down because that isn't perfect yet, so I haven't adjusted it. You can see that's out by quite a bit. So that's my next job. So I adjusted the blade angle so that it's cutting straight down. I did that using my digital angle gauge and just looked on there. That's 90 degrees and that's 0. I then did a test cut, and the test cut showed it being exactly 0 as well. You know, again, it's difficult to see these things, but your finger doesn't lie, and that's perfectly level. If I just show you a little bit in there, I don't know if you can see that. I'm just moving it down a little. It's perfectly parallel, so I'm really pleased with that. The design of the adjustment here is quite poor, and it could be modified and made a lot easier You've got a hex nut which locks it, and a Allen key or an Allen bolt that you move up and down to get the angle correct. If that had had a hex head on it, it would be a lot easier, because you're constantly having to move this out of the way, adjust it, put it back, adjust it again, put it back, and that's just a bit of a pain. So a little change their evolution, just add a hex head, and then you'll be able to do both things quite easily, and you'll be able to tweak it into angle quite quickly. So that was a bit of a palaver. It wasn't that difficult, but it's done now. Okay, so that's the first mod done on my Evolution Fury 3 mitre saw. I can now get reliable 90-degree cuts, which will improve my woodwork immensely. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos on modifications to this tool, then please click subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.